Hey guys, it's Kenz.
And Shell. Welcome back to the Effortless Podcast. What is this? Episode 4?
We're on episode 4 now.
Season
Moving
2.
right along.
I'm so excited for this week because I kind of just gonna relax.
No,
just
I
let
need
you
your
talk.
engagement during this. You have to give the feedback.
No, I will. But I'm actually I am very excited for this week just because obviously, obviously, you and I have talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
But as far as like getting your whole perception on it, like I feel like we haven't like had a discussion about that before.
Like specifically, from my point of view.
Yeah. So
and also we're not saying like. I say like so much. So annoying.
I feel like I do too.
No,
So,
you do good. But
so I'm really excited actually about what you have to say.
I've got
your
some
thoughts.
things to say.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Okay, should we jump right in?
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to say before about
I know,
anything
I was
else?
trying to
if there's
think.
anything that happened this week that really stood out as being a need to say podcast.
One thing I do want to say is that I was just playing Nashi 1-on-1 in the
Oh yeah, who won?
garage. He beat me on the last second shot. It's a little.
He
sore
also,
subject.
I played him this earlier too, and he said that you can foul, so he kept like nailing me in the face. I'm like, I'm leaving the game if you keep doing this.
I started playing him, and he goes, "You're way more active than my mom."
So rude.
I was like, "Yeah." So
Actually, you know what? One of these days we need to play 1-on-1. Me and you.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
My money's on you that you take me down, but
I already have you mindset. I already have your mindset, obviously.
yeah, I'll mentally prepare.
You will.
Okay. Shall we get into the things? All the things.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you want to start?
I do actually want to start by, first of all, saying how proud I am of you, because I feel like, no, I'm so serious.
No, I know.
I feel like this whole situation obviously hasn't been necessarily easy for you and took a lot for you to talk about. And I feel like it's really cool that you were able to talk about it. And I feel like you have reached a lot of people who have reached out and like said that they can relate, you know?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. The other thing I want to make a point of saying before we, I give my side of like the friend side of this, is that one thing I was trying to like think about different things I want to say. And one of the things I will say about you is that even when you were at your like lowest, or
I can feel it's gonna get emotional.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. I feel like you never ever stopped like showing up for the people that you care about.
I know, I can't really
I
look
get
at you.
emotional. But I'm so serious. Like, so many people in this situation just shut down and they can't function, or it's so like, poor me, what, you know, and I'm not saying that you didn't have your moments of being like frustrated or whatever, like that's fair. But like anytime I needed anything, or if I had an issue, or your sister, like anybody that's close to you, I think could vouch for the fact that you were always 100% there for them when when they needed it. And I feel like that is like just says a lot about you and how much you care. The other thing about that is, you know how the saying like hurt people hurt people. I feel like you were very hurt, but you, I believe, like, if anything, we're like the opposite of that. Like, I feel like you are such a big hype girl. Oh my god, I'm so serious. Like, because I just want to make these points because I feel like it's cool that you were able to not only get through all of it, but you also built people up even as you were struggling or it was a hard situation for you. So you never tried to bring anybody else down with you, I guess is my point, is you always were there for me through anything that I was, even if it was like something stupid and little, you always gave me your full attention, and I just really appreciate that.
I feel like that's so sweet of you to say like all of that stuff, but I feel like for me it was just so easy to do because of our relationship. Like I feel like we do that so well for each other that it's like I don't even like when you're saying that I'm like, oh my gosh, like duh, or you know, like I would have. But
I guess my thought,
but I feel like that is very sweet of you.
A lot of people in your situation, it would be hard to give the amount of like energy and stuff that you actually did put into our friendship. So that's why we're as strong as we are. Okay. that's all on that.
That was sweet. Thank you.
Yeah. But then from there, I just wanted to kind of go over like the main things that I feel like are really important as a friend that you have to be consistent on when you have somebody in this situation.
Mhm.
And the other thing I will say is that, I mean, you really have to, I guess I obviously really care about you, and I'm not saying I wouldn't do this for any of my friends, but there's definitely the people that it's like, I don't know, that's like maybe bad to say, but I feel like obviously our friendship was deep, like,
Yeah.
or, you know.
Well, it takes a lot of energy
It takes
from
a lot of energy,
you.
yes.
So it's like you can't, not that you can't do it for everybody, but there's different levels. Like it would be hard to, if you have like multiple friends in this situation,
it would
like,
be hard to, like,
it's a lot of
help everybody.
energy and like emotion and there's a lot.
Yeah. So I don't mean that in like a rude way that
Right.
some people I wouldn't do that for, because I would obviously would want to help anybody that I could.
Yeah.
But more in this situation, like, I guess my point was that I felt like we were so close that I was kind of like, well, obviously I'm going to stick with you through this all, and we are getting you through to the other side.
Highly invested.
Highly invested.
Yeah.
I was highly invested in you.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that I think is so important, if you have a friend that is in a similar situation as you were in, and you see that, and it's kind of like, okay, clearly this is not healthy. They don't necessarily see it, or maybe they do. One thing I think that is so important is to be a consistent in your life or their life. I don't know how I should word this. I'm going to say it as I'm talking to you. Your life. Because I feel like, kind of as you talked about, in a relationship like the one you were in, it's so up and down, high and low. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know, like, okay, what's he going to be like today? Is this going to be a good day with him? You just didn't know. And I think that if you have somebody in your life that you always know what you're going to get from, and like, you knew that you could always talk to me and I wasn't going to be like, no, I don't have time to talk about this today. Like I just felt like it was important for me to always be there no matter what, so that you had that consistency in your life of a relationship that was important.
Yes. I would say that's like, literally, I can never remember a time ever if I was like upset or like having a hard time, or like there's not one time where I was like, or you said, oh, I can't talk about this, or like, or if you were doing something, you're like, I want to keep talking about this, I'm going to call you back to this man, or whatever. So I feel like that's so true. Like,
why is your phone on loud?
I know.
Is it going to buzz?
I was wondering, I'm like, oh my gosh, the thing is buzzing. Here, let me put it on.
You're so popular.
My bad. I'm so yeah. No, but I feel like that is such a good point, because that is so true. I knew that I could always come to you, and I feel like I don't want to say anything too much because I don't want to jump ahead. I don't know what I actually don't even know what else you're going to say. But it was also a good when you talk about being consistent, like, you were like the perfect and are the perfect mix of like tough love and like, what's the opposite of tough love? Love?
Soft love.
Soft love. I don't know. So basically it's like, you got to the point where sometimes you would give me a little bit, and never like bad, but like, like what I needed, like, is this what you want? Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, oh, like, I don't know, like, because I was all frustrated, you know? Or like...
You internally process.
I internally process, so sometimes I go quiet. But it's like, I knew I would always get, like, an honest response. Or, like, I could always get your...
I was being honest with you.
Yes.
That actually does go right into number 2. Did you read that?
No, I can't even actually read really from here.
My next point is that I feel like it's very important to be honest and forward, but you have to do it in a very, like, gentle, loving way.
Yes. Because I am very sensitive.
Yes.
I am a very sensitive person.
For sure, I feel like there's times where, like, I probably said something that semi-offended you.
Yeah, sure. In a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
But obviously you knew that I was
super easy to, like, in this type of situation, like, looking at it from me, like, if this was happening to you, like, I wouldn't.
Not you, but, like,
I would have been, like, I feel like I wouldn't have done it as gracefully as you did.
Yeah, you would have.
Well, I don't know, but I feel like it's very easy to get frustrated, I'm sure, and to let that frustration out.
Yeah. Well, and more than that, though, I think that it's more just being And that's where partially, I think it's important the type of relationship you have with this person, your friend, before going into it. Because depending on what kind of friendship you have, I feel like it would be harder to be received in the way that you want it to be. So I think we did have that going for us. So we obviously had a good foundation of friendship and honesty prior to all of this.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of going along with that is being honest, but also, like in our case, we obviously have very similar morals and values.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like it was important to always remind you of your morals and values, because during this time, there's obviously a lot of times where you weren't necessarily living by the things that you actually do believe or know to be true.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like that kind of tied into that, as far as just making sure I was honest with you in a loving way, and just always being constantly reminding you, Shelly, you don't deserve this, and this is not what you stand for, so why are you letting it take over your life?
Yeah.
But, and even I will say, I feel like there was a period of time earlier on in the relationship, before I even really understood like what it all meant, that I feel like I would get semi-frustrated, or I would be like, just like, I don't understand, like, just leave, like, why are you still with him?
Yeah.
Or I feel like there were so many conversations we had before you guys like moved and stuff I was like, what is going on? Like, what are you doing? And I feel like those were the times, honestly, where you did not open up as much to me. Or there was that period of time where I feel like you didn't want to tell me very much. And I understand now, looking back, because I feel like I was definitely a lot more like quick to be like, I don't understand why you wouldn't leave him, which is kind of what we talked about today, even in the car, about, I don't remember exactly what we said, but it was along those lines of like, it's easy to come at the person like, I don't understand, but it's kind of like, well, yeah, because you're thinking logically about
the situation.
Or what was it that we actually said?
Yeah,
so I think you explained it better.
Or I think we were talking about like judgment, or like how people are quick to judge, or like say something about a situation when you're like, I feel like it's very common to be like, I can't believe they would do that. And you're like thinking, okay, you're a logical person saying, I can't believe this person would do that. And so then it's like, okay, you obviously have to think, if you know that person and also know that they're a logical person, then like they aren't thinking logically. Right. So there's more to the situation.
And I think that is so true. And I think that it's something that friends need to be aware of, because it's easy to be like, I don't understand, like, why wouldn't you just get out of the situation? Obviously it's bad and you're complaining to me about what situation you're in. Why don't you just get out? But I think it took me a little bit of time to even understand, like, okay, clearly it's not a scenario she wants to be in, but she's also in it. And it's going to take more than just saying, get out, to get out. So I think that it's really important to not judge the situation, and not to judge the person in the situation and assume that they can just get out, like, if they want to.
Or I feel like if they could, they would.
Exactly. I guess that's my point.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair that, like, it took me a while to understand that. I mean, I think anybody, it would.
I mean, a lot of people never do, or never try to.
Or just give up on. That's the point where I feel like you can either give up on your friend and be like, okay, well, it is what it is. That's what they're going to do. Or they're
making that decision. Let them keep making it.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or really keep fighting.
Yeah. keep doggy paddling.
I got in the water. That's why this is when I get in the water with you.
You jump on it.
Jump on it. Reminder. And then, I kind of said that. Don't get upset. I think that's a huge thing too, kind of along with that, is it's easy to be like annoyed or like upset or like not blame, but just be like, I don't understand. Like, you're in the scenario, like, get out. But I think it's hard as a friend to like look at it and to see their perspective, I guess. So I think just to change your mindset and be like, okay, no, I need to be the person that's helping them now, and not questioning why they're in the situation they're in.
But you also, like, I feel like you walked the perfect line of like doing that, letting me tell you everything, and like open up to you, and then you held me accountable to a certain degree without crossing the line to where I shut down and didn't tell you anything.
Yeah. Which I think there was that little period of time where it semi was close.
Yeah, before I moved.
Yeah. Do you think that's true? Which is on me, not you.
Well, I feel like that was probably just one of like the worst times in it, and I felt like maybe I didn't know how to like say it, or it was like
It was probably a combo of neither of us really knowing.
Like, what was going on.
We were learning together.
We're going
to didn't realize it.
Yeah, kind of. Like, it was confusing. And you never, like, yes, of course, if I told you something specific, you were like, oh, like, frustrated at him.
Yeah.
But you...
That's some choice words to say. I just remember, before coming into this, Greg was like, I'm a little, like, what are you going to say? I'm like, what are you going to do to start dropping F-bombs about
like,
this? I'm like,
you're crazy.
Why would I do that? No.
But you also, like, it's like, yeah, you were frustrated, but you never, like, if he was, like, around, you weren't rude. Or, like, you weren't, like, I wasn't scared you were gonna, like, do something. Or, like, I don't even know, like, do something to him. Or, I don't know, like, you were always, like, kind to him, too. And so, I just feel like that is such a fine line, and it's really hard as a friend to walk that line.
Yeah.
And to just, like, stay there to, like, still hear what's going on, not being, like, too overly emotional, but just still helping you through your thoughts, too.
Yeah. I agree. Or I feel like it's a learning process for everybody involved. But, yeah. Okay, what else do I have here? I think one thing that is also crucial, which seems maybe like an obvious, but just making sure that you always are there to listen and like let them or let you like say everything you need to say and be that like safe space where you literally are letting them tell you everything and you know that they're not going to like number one, judge you or just like go off on you, or like they know that you can literally listen to anything they have to say and you're going to take it and then you're going to give them good advice, but just always being available to listen and to not play it off like, oh yeah, like be an active listener. Yeah. I guess. And being hearing what they have to say, but then also like responding with more than just like, oh, I'm sorry, or like, that sucks. Yeah. It sucks. But really just being there to hear what they have to say and listen to their thoughts. And that's where too, I think that it is, if you know the situation and you know like what to look for and even like their feelings that you even described in the last couple weeks, I think it's helpful to like know kind of the degree of hurt that they're in. Yeah. You know?
A lot of times, like, obviously you and I have such a open relationship and like strong relationship, but I feel like a lot of times in these type of situations, the person who's in it doesn't fully like express how bad it is too. Right. So they kind of like will downplay it or, so that I feel like that's
which is sort of the mentality of like wanting to protect them, right? Yeah. A little bit. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that makes sense. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. I'm trying to see what else I have.
These are all very good thoughts.
Are they? Yeah. I feel like I should have organized my thoughts like a little bit more like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10.
I feel like you could almost like write a book on like how to support.
Maybe we should write a book together.
We should.
Oh, I did write this. Once they out.
Oh my gosh.
Don't assume they're fine. Which this might be, hold on, let me backtrack really quick just to make sure. Okay, before I talk about when they out, I will say one thing I do think that I found myself doing constantly with you because I feel like in your situation, and maybe it's all the situations like this, like you had talked about, like he had taken your self-confidence from you. He had kind of stripped you down to everything, like to nothing as far as how you felt about yourself or your self-worth and stuff. So I felt like it was my job as your bestie
turn up the hype
girl notch to 10, which not making things up, but like truthful things that you needed to be reminded of, or really trying to like turn the lies that he told you in like back to the truth as far as don't let anybody talk to you that way. Or, you know, they're just reminding you. And that could be as simple as compliments or stuff like that. But just basically really making sure that you are offsetting the negative that they're hearing with the positive and not letting that go by the wayside. Because I feel like that is important too, to like help. Yeah. You needed somebody to tell you how great you were because he was taking all of that away from you.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah. I feel like you did a lot of like self-teaching during this situation. Or like, I feel like, I mean, this isn't like the norm that someone would.
Oh, like I learned, like,
yeah,
self-teaching.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a teacher. I
Yeah.
taught myself.
Yeah.
No, but I think that part of it is just such I feel like, even the fact that we had been through your dad dying and stuff, I felt like we were already bonded through that and just basketball and all the things.
Yeah.
That it wasn't hard for me to like go all in as far as helping it. And in my head, I'm like, this girl is not ending up with him. There was a slight period of time where I feel like when you were happier, that I was kind of almost gonna accept it.
I remember that time period too.
When I was like, like you seemed happier. I still in my head was like, no, like this, no. But at the same time,
you've been like, does anybody object?
I know. This is the time. No, but there was a period where I was like, I mean, this is what you've accepted. There's only, at the end of the day, there is only so much as the friend you can do.
Yes.
You give everything you can, but ultimately it's your decision what you do.
Yes.
So I feel like got to the point where I was like, if this is what you want, I mean, if you're actually happy. Yeah. But then I had to question if you were actually happy. Yeah. I couldn't. I just couldn't let it go. So don't actually settle for it. Don't accept it.
Don't accept it.
I feel like I'm really rambling. And then kind of back to when you're out of the situation, I think it's easy, kind of as you touched on before, to just assume, okay, we made it. It's over. We crossed the finish line. No, we did not.
You're like, OMG, get back in it now. I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
No, but it's so true that it's really after the fact that is like
the hardest,
and the most important, that you don't like let them go back. Yeah. Or you really have to keep reminding them, no, you deserve better. You know your worth. And remember, like, you know that you don't like that, you don't want this again. And it feels easy to go back, but hell to the no, you are not going back. You're like, I am not going through this again. No. But it's like, but it is important that you have somebody, because if you didn't, then you don't, like, I feel like you hold yourself accountable a little bit, or you wouldn't want to tell me, oh, I'm going to go back to him. Yeah. I mean, or like, but if you didn't have a support system, it would be way easier to just go back. Totally. So the journey does not end once a relationship ends. No.
I feel like it's almost like if they make the decision to break up, because ultimately that is that person's decision. For sure. To like break up. Yeah. Then that's when it's like the actual like fight of it kind of starts. Because it's like, that's the active part of like, because if you're in a relationship, you've already accepted the situation. So then once you change the situation, you decide to get out, then that's when it's like, okay, this is when like the fight starts. Like you have to actively do stuff to change the situation. Right. Yeah. And I think that that's just very important to remember. Yeah. That it's like, once the relationship's over, it's when you really got to go to work as a friend. Be there for you. Like, you have to really be there, and once again, be that constant of like, you can always come to me and express how you feel 900 times about the same thing, because that's what you just have to be able to do. I'm serious. No, I'm laughing because of how many times I would come to you like for the same thing over and over. But that's just like part of the process. Yeah. You know? Yeah. We should write a book. You want to? What should we call it? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Think of something witty, but we'll think about it. Announce it later. Yeah. Once we decide to write a book. Because we need to add a few more things onto our plate. Yeah. You know, we're not busy. And then kind of just some final thoughts is, I think that something that I feel like is definitely most helpful and crucial is, I also feel like I'm missing a lot of things. So we can talk about at the end, things that I missed. But I think it's so important to just like have empathy, a lot of empathy for the person, because, and I feel like you're so high on this, which
it makes sense because
Mhm.
you have been through a lot. But I feel like you've helped me to even understand it through your experience, that you really don't ever know what somebody's going through,
Mhm.
and you don't know their situation. And so to always give people the benefit of the doubt and to not judge the situation that they're in or assume that like that everything's just great and dandy, and just to give people grace
Mhm.
and to allow them to just have a moment. And
Yeah.
or like there's always something going on in somebody's life,
Yeah.
big or small. And I think just we all need to be better about making sure that we're not quick to judge people, quick to assume things, and to just give people the benefit of the doubt.
Mhm.
And to just like be a light in everybody's life.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I
honestly,
agree.
like, I don't know. I just think that that's
Good
important.
vibes only.
Good hashtag. Good vibes only. It's so true though.
It
like,
is. I mean, I feel like it's just one of those things. If you feel yourself start to think like looking at a situation or a person, you're like, I can't believe they would do that. It's like you have to like take a second and just be like, well, why would they do that?
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Like most of the time, people don't just like make crazy decisions,
Right.
Because they
want to.
or whatever. And obviously, that's like hard to do, and it's kind of.
But I
human
think
nature
if you
to, like,
if you really actively like think about it
Mhm.
before you're quick to say something about somebody's situation,
Yeah.
or even a reaction somebody had
Totally.
about something,
Mhm.
I think it does help your mindset as far as just giving everybody a little bit of
Yeah.
grace. And
it's totally a mindset thing.
it's a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to turn their mindset to grace.
We're really big on mindset right now.
Mindset. Yeah.
Your mindset.
And then I was just going to ask you,
Mhm.
from your perspective,
Mhm.
do you feel like there was like 1 to 5,
1 to 30.
1 to 5, 30, no, 1 to like 5 things that stood out to you as being like, as the friend, you need to do this, or
Mhm.
this actually didn't really work for me, or you could not have done that and I would have been better off, you know?
I feel like I could list off like a million things, because having somebody there with you like through it all is like, first of all, I'm sure it's super rare. I don't think that somebody would like fight for you like you did for me, so thanks.
We're in the ring together.
Yeah. But specific, like if I had to like list certain things, I would say, I know we like kind of touched on this, but even like from in the relationship to out of the relationship, I knew like you had kids, like you had a husband, got a dog who you love so much. I just had to add that.
Does anybody want a...
Oh,
I'm just kidding. We love
not,
Jet.
but-
No, I love Jet.
Oh my gosh.
If there's a good grooming service, though, out there,
Oh
I would
my
take
gosh.
that. It's just the
Weekly.
hair and the smell that gets me. Anyways, great dog, great dog.
We love Jay. He's a good dog.
Good boy.
Like you obviously had a lot going on in your life, but literally always being there, and like you said, being the constant where I knew I could call and tell you literally anything. Like, I mean, the amount of times I would call you and you're like, I'm like crying so hard, I'm like, like it's like the cry.
Huh?
What are you doing? And it's like I'm like having a complete like meltdown, and you just like stay calm, and you were the perfect combination of like frustration towards the situation to back me up in certain situations, but then also like held me accountable for my faith, for like just like me as a person, and because you knew like what I actually wanted. And in those times I'm so confused. Like I am not thinking clearly. But it's like you were always that like constant reminder.
Well, actually I did write even something that reminded me, I don't think I said this, but like I think it's important to be kind of the voice of reason. Yeah. Because like you said, I feel like you are in a situation like this are very confused. Yeah. And don't really know, or even like being confused about reality. Or, you know, like what is true, what's not, I think is important for the friend to just like be the reminder of reason. Yes. And normal. And you never like, even if I told you something probably, or something that didn't make sense, like you never reinforced anything that I was being told in my relationship. So you're not like, oh, that sounds crazy, or like, and not that you would ever call me crazy, but like just even like a story that I would tell you, or a situation, or you were never like, oh, you're being dumb in this situation, or like
you always just like let me express it all. And then I also think it's like important too, because a lot of times when I would talk to you, I wasn't always looking for you to like fix a situation.
No.
But it was a lot of times like a sounding board. And I feel like that was important too. Like I'm like, I just have to like tell you all of this, and then you can like summarize it or like give me your thoughts on it. Or it's not like you were always trying to be like, do this, don't do this. Like I feel like that was like really important. So like consistency and being the sounding board. Another thing that I think is like so important, and I feel like we haven't talked about a ton, is
laughing.
That yes,
or like making it funny.
Literally through our whole relationship, like I mean the amount of times like this is so, and we kind of have like a funny sense of humor.
We do. It's very like compatible.
Yes. And sometimes like if you heard us, you're probably like, oh my gosh, they're so rude or so or like, well, they're not rude, but like I mean like certain things like,
or even like the way we talk to each other sometimes.
Yes. Like even like in the times of like when my dad died, like there's just so many times that it would, for most people, it's like
you wouldn't.
It would be really sad. Yes. Or like we'd make a joke and it was like kind of harsh, but like questionable. You would never say it in public, but we were dying. Yeah.
And it would be like about your situation.
Yes.
But like but it was somehow socially acceptable for us.
Exactly. And like a lot of times during like my whole relationship, like there was, I mean, anytime we were together, it's not like I'm just over here, I'm just like crying to you all the time.
Or like, if you are crying, usually we're laughing.
Yes.
Which doesn't take away from the actual relationship or the issues, but it somehow did.
It like helped
lighten it somehow.
Yeah. And it's like we still have those like vulnerable moments and like sad times, but it's like when I'm thinking back to this situation, like it's not like I just have like an overwhelming amount of memories of like hard times. Like I remember a lot of really fun times, like laughing or I mean making jokes about it too.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for me specifically that was like,
and that even I think
super important.
Also goes to, or I think that would be definitely dependent on the type of friendship you have with somebody, because some people like some of the stuff probably I said to you would be very offensive to some. Or which you obviously know what kind of friendship you have, if that's acceptable or not.
Yeah.
But that is just so our relationship that that's how we are, and we think we're so funny.
Yeah.
With each other, or like we're really funny.
Exactly, and I feel like that is like that was a huge part of even the healing process. Like after I got out, I mean, like literally, I know we keep talking about that stupid Trader Joe's time, but like. I'm in and then I remember like crying the way home. I get home and I lived with Kenz at that time, so I went down to my room and I had like a full on, like I was having a meltdown, and so I was just in my room, had my moment, and then I come back upstairs and I'm like, okay, I'm done crying. Like it was just like you had to
like lighten it a little bit.
Yeah. So I feel like that was very or that's something that is like huge, for me.
Yeah.
And then I feel like, that was the other thing, and you did touch on it too, but words of affirmation are like so important too, because even throughout my relationship, it's like you were like the main person who's like giving me that, because it's like it's not happening to this person that I'm in a relationship with. And then especially after. So like in the relationship, obviously it's still important, but like I was with that person every single day. And that at that point I didn't see you as much because I was not here. But then after, in like the healing and recovery time, it's like, I remember like literally feeling myself getting built back up from you and like your family, and just like constantly telling me, and it could be something as simple as like your outfit, or like oh, that looks cute on you, or just like random stuff. It's like the littlest things though make such a big difference. So I feel like the words of affirmation are like so big.
And I think it's important too to like, this is what I feel like we both have talked about, working on this more in real life, or not in real life, not in real life. But it's so like, I feel like there's so many times where I'm like, oh, about anybody, not
Yeah,
just you, as far as like verbalizing compliments that you feel in your head, or actually if you do like somebody's shirt, something random, you know, whatever, to tell them. Because I feel like it feels so good to get compliments, and like that feels good to anybody, regardless of if you're struggling or not. So I think it's important to even remember that. And it feels good to make people feel good about themselves, obviously. So I think it is in all situations good to verbalize things that you feel very positive towards somebody. Yeah. I feel like it's so easy just to think it and like continue on in your day, but I feel like we've kind of made it a point to try to do that. Yeah. And it feels good both ways, like you said. Yeah. Okay, to sum up my main points, unless there's any other points to make. I think those are the main points. I think the most important things are to make sure that you're always available to listen, and to make sure that they feel like they can tell you everything, and that you're not going to judge them or like get upset at them or blame them or anything like that. Point number 2, I think, is to be honest and give a little bit of tough love, but to also not cross any lines as far as pushing them away. It's like a good mix of like accountability and empathy. Right. And then once you out, never living that down. When you out, you should put it on a shirt or something. When you out, not assuming that everything's fine, or even when they say they're fine, make sure you actually follow up with that and don't just continue on. Like, make sure that they're actually good. Be there for them still to talk about their feelings or things that they want to express even after the fact. And be sure to give lots of words of affirmation and build them back up. Because like you said just starting from rock bottom, you need somebody to be there to be your biggest hype girl. And it's like somebody who has good intentions. Good intentions. Yes. Yeah. So I can also... Wow. Look how far we've come. I don't know. I feel like now that I'm like saying these things, I'm like, I feel like there's a lot more that I can't think of, or like it feels semi like a blur. Yeah. Now looking back, and I was trying to think of like crucial things, which maybe this is helpful still, but I kind of feel like I could have done better with more helpful specific tips. Oh, I thought it was good. So if I think of more things later, I can add them in. But that's kind of the things that I feel like stood out to me as being big for ads on the front side. Yeah. I feel like from coming into the situation, it's like craziness at the beginning, obviously. And then you just like took it upon yourself to like learn about it and never walk away. So I'm very lucky. We're both lucky. Or I know that you would do the exact same thing for me. Yeah. You know? So Greg better keep his ish in line. Yeah. I'm just kidding. He will. But yeah, anything else? I don't think so. I feel like that was good. What are we talking about next week? Actually, I do have a topic that I feel like we could talk about. What? I think that, I feel about the whole like mom identity situation. Oh, we should. I think that's a good transition from this one. Like a little bit lighter, but like still. Anyway, I feel like we could do that if you wanted to. Yeah, we should. Or just sort of a overall like mom identity. Mom-denity. Mom-denity. Oh my gosh. That's the title for next week. Come and listen to Mom-denity next week. No, but okay, in all honesty, I'm going to go back to the Mom-denity, but it's actually such a good topic, and you and I have chatted about this multiple times because, as we'll talk about next week, it's just so easy to like lose your identity. Yeah, and it doesn't, I guess my thing too is it doesn't mean that you like neglect your kids to focus on yourself. No. But I was thinking about this today, and I was like, I think it's so true that like the mom's cup needs to be full so that it can overflow into the kids' cups. Yeah. Sippy cups. Because if your cup is empty, like you have nothing to give. Or what you give is like not
not that it's not genuine, but it's,
But
like not your best.
It's not your best. So I feel like if a mom feels her best, it overflows into everybody else.
Everybody
I'm being
in the family.
so cheesy right now. I can't even
I'm
handle
loving
it.
it.
Sippy cup mom identity.
I can't
so
wait
sorry.
for your mom identity. That's gonna stay. That's gonna stick.
It doesn't even
That's
really
what we're
make
gonna put on a
sense.
t-shirt. Mom identity.
I don't know. Anyways, I feel passionate about this topic because
I feel like it's very, and
it's important.
I think it's super
overlooked.
important, and I think a lot of times, like you just mentioned, it comes across as like you being selfish as a mom, and it shouldn't be looked at.
Yeah,
because
it's like we're just expected to give up everything,
and you already do.
You
literally do.
Yeah. So I think it's a good topic, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Love that.
And you have some things probably to add because my kids. I told you this already, but when yesterday I overheard Jovi telling the child care at the gym, Shasha's my best friend, and she's my mom. I'm like,
really? So someone who has a sliced open stomach.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, so that's what we're gonna talk about next week, apparently. And be ready for all you mom to find your mom identities again. So
to fill your cup and the sippy cups.
Oh my gosh. So join us next week for episode 5 of the Effortless Podcast.